I don't normally wish for one's death. Death doesn't suit me like this one does. Yet, when I look at most live service games, death becomes all three of my top 3 wishes. Death to live services, death to the entire industry, and death to myself for believing this industry would ever learn from its mistakes. It's like poetry, it rhymes. Let's not be all doom and gloom. Don't forget, I'm the biggest hypocrite of 2025. That's because I've enjoyed plenty of live service game before. Although that's really because I still enjoy multiplayer games. And there really isn't a multiplayer game these days that isn't also a live service business model catastrophe. At least those games know what they want to be. Now, what about a game that truly doesn't know what it wants to be? A game whose identity is caught between a gameplay-focused live service multiplayer romp and a highly produced narrative-focused single-player adventure. How does one take an honest look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? Hopefully not for too long, because this game is a hot mess. I don't need to play it to tell you that either. The chronicles of Rocksteady's biggest failure has already been explained to death by hundreds of YouTube critics better than me. So I'm gonna listen to them and not play this game. But boy, will I watch it. Why? Because I'm in a pickle. I'm interested enough in this game to make a video about it, but not interested enough to play, 11 hours of this game? Really, 11 hours. My time is precious. When I come home from a long day of work, I want to know I'm engaging in the highest form of art and entertainment. Obviously, I know how to pick them. The reviews are out. It's a bad game. But I was the only one brave enough to ask, is it a bad movie? Maybe 3.5 hours of gaping the Justice League is a better experience. Maybe I will save 7.5 hours of my life. Maybe I will find something more productive to do with those 7.5 hours than making a video on this game, which took me 11 hours to make. Ladies and gentlemen, I have made the heartbreaking decision to not play Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I'm going to watch it instead. Brainiac has taken control of the Justice League to conquer Metropolis on his quest for world domination. And only the Suicide Squad can get the crown, save the town, and Mr. Krabs. Wait, wrong franchise. The never abbreviating that name again, are a ragtag group of supervillains starring Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, and King Shark. This quirky crew of degenerates are gonna quip their way through all their problems and listen to licensed music while they do it. Wait, wrong franchise. Or is it? R-rated superhero stories have massively grown in popularity during the development of this game, and Rocksteady was definitely borrowing too much from them. Deadpool's flashy freeze frames have been transplanted into this game alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy dialogue and character archetypes. King Shark is written like a bargain bin Drax, which is shocking when considering that King Shark in James Gunn's own Suicide Squad movie didn't even feel like a Drax type. Heck, even Drax from Eidos Montreal's Guardians of the Galaxy video game resisted the temptation of retreading MCU Draxisms. Rocksteady wore its influences far too heavily on its sleeve. It's not just uncreative, it's unfunny too. I'm unfunny as well, not the second unfunny. Man, all I've done so far is introduce the characters and I'm already not enjoying this. Please don't turn me into the villain, Rocksteady. Lay the Justice League to Betty Bye begins like any self-respecting spin-off to a beloved trilogy should, with not so subtle callbacks to the originals. Thank you so much, video game, for reminding me of a better video game. I hate to admit it, but this actually did work on me. This game's writing is surprisingly at its best when it is in conversation with the prior Arkham games. It's like rhyme, it poetries. There is great care put into exploring Batman, Harley Quinn, and the lore of the Arkhamverse to examine how this history has shaped them over the years. Harley's giddy insistence to carry Batman over her shoulders all by herself is a well-earned callback to all the times Batman has done that to Harley in prior Arkham games. She finally gets the better of Batman physically, and it's an important power move for her character. For years, Rocksteady graciously placed the fans into Batman's shoes, and it was a snug fit. The gadgets, the scare tactics, the brutality, it was all there in the Arkham franchise. Smoke the Justice League shows all of Batman's tools from the victim's perspective, which adds a sinister twist to Batman's familiar arsenal. This creates the best scene in the game. However, it also contributes to its worst. Brainiac Batman's final battle doesn't hold a candle to his introduction. Again, living within the shadow of the Arkham series, Scarecrow's fear toxin returns with Batman becoming the perpetrator, elevating his fear tactics against the entire Suicide Squad by stooping to the harrowing lows of his greatest not Joker villain is a creative idea, revealing the paper-thin line between Batman and his own villains. It's even thwarted in a clever way, capitalizing on Harley Quinn's expertise in neurochemistry. What makes this sequence a failure is in its execution. Having a drawn-out haunted house shooting gallery that provides no challenge against our anti-heroes with 3 repetitive objectives that are repetitively repeated 4 times in a row sucks out all tension from the scene. It's annoying to watch, and I'm sure it is even more annoying to play. This game's most intimate conversation with the Arkham quadrilogy culminates in Harley Quinn saying goodbye to Batman with a bullet to the head. Knowing the history between these two characters heightens Harley's speech before ending Batman's life. When Batman is always the one with the last word, Harley has heard it all before. She shuts him up quick by finishing his pre-canned menacing sentence and backhandedly compliments Batman for being a better hero than he is a villain. For Harley to blossom in her independence, she didn't just have to move on from tying her life around Joker, she also had to move on from the ties that bound her to just another one of Batman's villains of the week. It's sweet, it works, and it is the only satisfying conclusion that anybody will get from this game, because none of the other evil Justice League members get an ending nearly as worthy. The Flash is the only Justice League member that begins as an ally, but inevitably ends up brainwashed by Brainiac. What's an even more interesting wrinkle to his character is his relationship with Captain Boomerang, who has a deep-seated hatred for this prick, whether he's mind-controlled or not. The Flash's performance is top-notch as both the hero and the villain. He's a better villain than Batman, and that guy is a billionaire. Are you kidding me? Witnessing Flash's transformation allows the audience to emotionally connect with him far more than any other Justice League member, making his heel turn the most tragic as a result. Tragedy is required to help sell how devastating Brainiac's disrespectful hijacking of their minds really is in this world. The dramatic potential for these characters is through the roof, but when the Flash dies, the story moves on too quick for any capitalization. Wait, stop. There's a joke in there somewhere. The writing refuses to give his death the proper weight it deserves, especially considering he's the first Justice League member the team kills. It waters down the story arc to Captain Boomerang wants to kill the Flash, so he does. Moving on. Boomerang can't even finish his speech before the story continues to the next League member, leaving neither characters with a satisfying conclusion. This isn't about disrespecting the Justice League. It's about not disrespecting the writing. Same goes for Green Lantern and even Superman. Deadshot is linked to Green Lantern, but nothing comes of that. And King Shark has no real relationship with any of these villains, meaning he defaults to the Drax-like comic relief for the entire game. If the writing had top priority over the live service content grind, then they would have taken the time to satiate these story threads. The most satiated Justice League storyline is Wonder Woman. When you have a team of villains who don't have any qualms with grinding superheroes into a bloody pulp, Wonder Woman serves as the antithesis of that. These are all her friends. She wouldn't even kill her greatest enemies despite easily having the strength to do so. Since she hasn't been brainwashed, the idea of death being their only salvation haunts her. Forced to be surrounded by an evil community who can't relate to this aversion to violence and bloodshed makes her moral dilemma even more gripping. The Suicide Squad, being the expert killers that they are, actually have something they could help her with. Getting their hands bloody so she doesn't have to. Brainiac's Metropolis Mad World pushes her to the brink. She finally musters up the courage to kill her closest friend, Superman. But it fails, and Superman responds with laser eyes burning through her heart. Wonder Woman's death is a touching scene. It might be the only death in the game with the gravitas it required. This moment is earned. Harley killing Batman is earned. The rest of the Suicide Squad, the actual main characters here are broke. The relationships between the squad never really change as the story goes on. Most of their banter is used for comedy more than any character development. They work together because they have to, not because they want to. They begin the game physically fighting each other, and then end the game verbally fighting over how they're going to kill Brainiac. I don't think the moral of this game should be verbal abuse is better than physical abuse. Yet, they set up this big payoff with the team coming together for a high five just before credits roll, as if they've actually grown as a team. I hope I'm making it clear that they haven't. They are just as selfish as they've always been. They didn't prove themselves by, say, coordinating in battle together or trusting one another. Brainiac is defeated just like every other superhero that's broken bad. Guys, I'm being literal here. The final fight with Brainiac is him transforming into the Flash, and the fight doesn't look any more interesting. It is one thing having the death of your villains like the Flash, Green Lantern, or Superman fall flat, but when even the death of Brainiac is downplayed like the rest of them, it is like watching a script try to hang itself. Brainiac wants more than just this world. Brainiac wants every world. Yes, it is another superhero multiverse story. When the multiverse comes into play, it starts out promising like every other plot point. The Flash killed Lex Luthor in this universe, but a Lex Luthor from another universe where Brainiac has already ravaged the world joins the team in this universe to compete against Amanda Waller and provide them a way out of Waller's wrath. I like this multiversal wrench that was being thrown into the plot. But the multiverse isn't used to expand the creative potential of the story. It leans in on the nihilistic futility of the multiverse to feed the live service nature of the game design. My autopsy was wrong about this script's death. This wasn't a suicide, it was a sacrifice. Before the Suicide Squad even has a chance at killing Brainiac, Lex Luthor, actually, them by revealing there are 13 Brainiacs to deal with, not just one. Does a big reveal like this, where the story drastically moves its goalpost, ever sound good? It took all this time just killing 4 of these Brainiac-possessed superheroes, and now the story decides to prolong this journey 4 times over? It's demoralizing, man. Live Service teams up with the multiverse to lock the Suicide Squad and the audience into a Sisyphusian rat race of mindless murder until we are finally granted any finality to the story. If there's any finality to the story. Simply put, this is the script slapping us all in the face. But that's not how the Suicide Squad see it. Everyone is happy to have an excuse to keep killing. The never-ending live service grindathon meets our antiheroes in the story, and they get excited about it. Look, I get it. These are bloodthirsty villains whose only other alternative when all of this is over is to return to prison. Between those two options, the illusory freedom of shooting Brainiac in the face over and 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 over again may be the better option for them. But as an audience member, I'd rather shoot myself in the face over and over and over and over and over. Even if that rationale is intentionally there, scenes like this will always feel like Warner Bros. Games hoping that if the main characters say they are having fun with this, then the audience will have fun too. WB treats the Suicide Squad like a laugh track. Don't insult my intelligence. I'm not laughing. Is this the message of this game? How we learn to stop worrying and love the live service? This may be the game's greatest sin. This isn't the only example. The narrative is deformed by the live service model in more ways than one. Many of the side characters the squad meets along the way, like Lex Luthor, Toyman, and the Penguin, are only there to not so subtly explain live service gameplay elements like weapon upgrades and the loot storefront. The exposition can become overbearing. Watching as a movie, it makes a lot of these cutscenes superfluous to the overarching story that only serves gameplay. Video games in general adopt a more episodic storytelling structure because it fits more comfortably around the primary gameplay loop. It's also why video games are more easily adapted into TV shows rather than movies. However, combine this with the live service model, and the feeling that a cutscene is created more as a narrative detour than anything else increases exponentially. Live service infecting the story being told starts to make prior scenes look metaphorical. The Suicide Squad are subservient to Amanda Waller, mostly because of these nanobots that have been injected into their spinal cavity that will blow up their heads whenever Waller wants to. All she wants is control over these people. And the squad must inject these nanobots into more villains throughout Metropolis that she believes could be an asset to her operation. Waller is happily puppeteering supervillains just like Brainiac is doing to the superheroes. Just like the game is doing to its audience. Making slaves to engagement, dailies, weeklies, seasons, rehashing the same content with slight tweaks to lock them into a feedback loop, hoping somebody, anybody, we'll drop some extra cash for more hits of dopamine. This game has no ending. Yes, they attempted to wrap up the story by dropping a new cutscene, but that is no ending. It turns out the evil Justice League were Brainiac's clones the whole time, meaning the real Justice League were alive all along. Except Wonder Woman, I guess, who wasn't clued in on Batman's master plan and is dead for real. Don't forget about the tragedy of the Flash, whose narrative weight is completely flattened. It doesn't take much brains to realize that every consequential character moment from this game no longer matters. The nihilism is coming from inside the house. This cutscene should have stayed cut. If the first ending wasn't enough, then this ending is a stern reminder that any video game manufactured to be the game that never ends will never conjure up a satisfying conclusion. What Warner Bros. Failed to realize is that death can come long before the end. Meaning is fleeting in the live service story. The film industry already struggles enough with letting famous heroes, villains, or any character in between die. The live service model is the same. Companies refusing to let their own game die despite stagnation. Which makes it all the more embarrassing when it's the live service games that die harder than any single player experience. Sparks do fly within some of the writing, but they are so few and far between, and they desperately rely on your love of the previous Arkham games for any of them to be worthwhile. I'd like to say do what I did, save your time, and watch this 3.5-hour epic of lackluster proportions. But after watching this video game movie, I'm starting to think I might have enjoyed playing it more. Go figure. Although I'm well aware that the grass is always greener on the other side. Time is the only currency in this world that nobody gets back. Constantly spent until there is no more time left to live. Don't spend your time on this game. Unless it means watching this video. Simply watching Kill the Justice League is too disappointing after the heights of the Arkham series, knowing that Rocksteady will never be the same after this. The true heroes here are all the people who chose not to buy this game. We may have tragically lost Rocksteady in the process, but Warner Bros. Has been defeated. Now all we gotta do is kill the other 13 live service games they'll try to make after this failure. And then there was Helldivers 2, a live service game that found a way to weaponize its everlasting live service format into a narrative with artistry. The never-ending war between Super-Earth and all the other life forms is the point. Players willingly thrusting themselves into unrelenting battlefields over and over again, treating human life as frivolous, mirrors the written words on the Helldivers page. That or the page of Starship Troopers. Super-Earth doesn't care about its people, only what they provide. Live service is the delivery mechanism for Helldiver 2's satirical views on authoritarianism and colonialism. New seasons and updates are propaganda delivered by developers who never break kayfabe. This story needs no finality to make its point. They revolutionize how games can drop new content by gaslighting their audience. Don't you get it? You are playing as the bad guys. Helldivers 2 tells a story that only a live service game could tell. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this is the one that lives while Kill the Justice League dies. Life was found beneath the soul-sucking story of fascism.